Hello, I'm Liz Ackley, and today I'm going to, as you can see, I'm back in my studio. I'm going to share with you how I've set my studio up. A few weeks ago I shared how I'd renovated this room. It's part of my move to North Wales, and I showed you all the detail of how I'd done that from a red and brown room to a white and spacious room. So I'll put the link into the notes so that you can check that out if you didn't already. And what I want to do now today is to turn the camera around in a minute and give you a sort of whistle stop 360 degrees of the room so that you can see how I've set up my art equipment. And of course these things are never set in stone, so I'm likely to change and evolve that as I go. But for now I have something that I'm sort of reasonably happy with as a way of getting going with my work. And one of the things I particularly want to share with you is I'm a collage artist, as many of you will know if you've watched me for a while, and I use a lot of collage in my work. And I've always struggled, and I think most of us do, with how to store it most effectively. And I've tried boxes and shelving and all sorts. Anyway, I've got a new approach, and I want to share that with you as a particular part of this video. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around and get going. Okay, so let's start at essentially the back of the room. So the window is literally 180 degrees from this view. So this is the back of the room. And it's quite handy actually, because I have this area under the stairs. I'll walk through so you can see, where I'm able to store all of my paints and my sketchbooks and so on. And then going into this area are all my panels and things that I store, that I need to store. So that's quite a handy sort of tucked away area. And obviously all of the paints and everything are kind of out of the way as well. I've got trolleys that I'll show you in a minute, but they are sort of movable. But having the sort of heavier paints that take up quite a lot of space, it's good to have that in an area on this shelving that I've got. And then if I swing round from here, I will come back to this rather strange looking 3-drawer thing here in a minute, because that's where I'm storing my collage. And then I have a series of desks, or just a couple of desks actually, set up over on this side of the room. The same desks that I had in my old studio. And as you can see on the wall, I've got my 100-day project, because that's my inspiration for the start. And then coming round to the window area, very handy to have this space which is over this cupboard that I talked about in the previous video, because that's where I can store big paper flat. And then I have my trolleys for working. So I've got one for mixed media on the left, that is everything that's not the paint. And then the blue drawers are tube paints. And on the top I've got oil pastels. And then this one on the end here is all of the materials, all of the things I use to put the paint on with, essentially. Stencils and all sorts of things on those second and third shelves. But then I've got my trowel, my brushes. Brushes are also in buckets that I've clipped onto the other side, on here. And then I've got my mark making, different bamboo sticks, and then other bigger brushes, and you know, the usual, all of the gubbins of putting the paint on with, which brings me nicely around to this wall. And this is my painting wall. So this has got the screws on it. It's got an old painting that I've started that I'm probably going to work over, but I'm just putting it on there out of the way for now, and then obviously more on the floor that I can kind of work on. And then swinging around, that's the door, which was actually a very battered door, so it's still rather ramshackle, but I've tried to paint, well, I have painted it and filled it and sorted it out, and I've got my hooks there ready for my aprons and things. And then this wall, I've actually put shelving, and I might put another shelf on actually, for small works as they're ongoing, and cupboards and so on. And that board down there is my mood board, which I'll probably put on the wall over there. But I am aware that I'm going to want to have quite a lot of wall space to put paperworks up as I'm going. And probably up higher, I'm going to put the screws on these battens so that I can hang work out of the way as I'm working. So that is just a whistle-stop tour really, but what I want to do now is to focus on this here, this 3-drawer, and I'm gonna just show you exactly what I've done to sort of get my collage papers set up. Okay, so I've set it up so that you can see all 3 drawers. You can't see my head, but that doesn't really matter. What I want to do is to show you this. So what this white unit here is, with these 3 drawers, is an Ikea shoe store. And I've had this idea for a while, but until I moved it wasn't, worth sort of exploring it really. And I did worry that the papers were going to fall all about the place, but that hasn't happened, and I can show you now why that is the case. So what I've done for now, and it could be that I'm going to need more than one of these in the future, but having said that, I'm quite like the idea of kind of constantly mixing and changing and evolving it anyway, so I might, it might keep me from getting too overloaded with papers. So what it is it's 3 drawers. This first drawer I've got with buff papers, black and white papers, and all sorts of patterns. Patterns as in sewing patterns, tissue paper, all that sort of neutral stuff. And the great thing about it is because you've got these 2 drawers, I don't know if you can see where my hands are, it's 2 sort of, so you've got a wooden panel here and then you've also got the front here. It keeps things in and it doesn't fall off the back because you've got a backboard on it as well. So it's quite a kind of a sort of, they're quite kind of enclosed, so that kind of works. And what it also means is that you can actually flick through and see what you've got. Whereas in the other systems I had, you couldn't really do that very well, and it was very easy to get into a muddle. And I'm sure this will get into a muddle, but I just really like the containment of it and the fact that you can keep it kind of organised, semi-organised. So that's my first drawer. So this second drawer, I've just got coloured papers. And you can see how it would get very full very quickly, but it depends on how you work. And it could be that you have, sort of some backups, but this is where you work from, so you can easily see things. So I've got, different, setting up in different colours, so blues and reds and purples and grey, all the sorts of what you'd expect. So that's coloured papers and pattern papers as well. And then this third drawer is where I have got all of the text type stuff, so magazines, newspapers, dictionaries, things that are collected, receipts, different leaflets and things, maps, all that sort of stuff. And even though this is quite heavy, it doesn't fall off the back, and I think you can see it's still not sort of tipping. So I think that this has got a great deal of potential, and so I'm very happy about that. So anyway, so that's what I've done, and as I say, it's an Ikea unit, and I will again put the information from that in the notes. So I hope that's been helpful. Please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. And one of the things I think about this sort of setting up the studio is that we all work in different ways, and it's about finding what's right for us. And I think over time, you tweak things, you change it as you realise things are working or not working. And I hope that collage system works out as well as I'm thinking it will work out. And of course, hopefully that will be useful for you, because it may be that you don't use it for collage. We could use it for all sorts of different things. I mean, it could be used for storage of papers, or even for small works, or for other things. It's just a very useful way of having things readily accessible and visible. And I'm hoping it's going to be great as a way of keeping my collage papers organised. So maybe if you're a collage artist, it will be the same for you. So thanks again, and please do comment, and I love to hear from you, and I'll catch you next time. So thanks a lot, bye bye.